High spots and cheap pops. You're on the air.
I spot the cheap pops. Vladi, Dadi, we are just about 6 days removed from CM Punk and, of course, Drew McIntyre, Hell in a Cell. Many people calling it, particularly in WWE, calling it one of the greatest Hell in a Cell matches of all time, a classic. Dave Meltzer even gave it 5 stars. So this was pretty much everything that CM Punk set out to do early in the week. He was interviewed and said what he needed to do and what he and Drew needed to do. And they certainly achieved everything that CM Punk wanted to. They put on a great match. But is it an all-timer? I don't know. Vladi Dadi, you were able to watch this match twice.
Yes.
And again, it was a great match. But we'll see. Let me hear what your thoughts are on this match, because I think you might be on the. I don't know. I'm not sure how you think about it, because just the way the match was described by Michael Cole the entire time, it was like, I don't know.
I'll say this. One of the things I took some notes on this thing, right? Because I'm like, let me just concentrate on this. Not like the first time I saw it, I knew who won. I'm like, all right, let's just get to the chase. And
Yeah,
I wasn't like I was like, I'm like, but this time I wanted to give it the devil is due and just totally concentrate on it, pick up on what I liked, what I disliked. And honestly, I am a believer that this is a classic, and probably an all-time classic for WWE, because I'd have to think about another match that sort of could be put in the similar corner as this one, where it's brutal. There's a great story being told, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I couldn't remember one offhand, but rewatching this right off the instant, and honestly, I don't know where part of the reason this is more special for me is what I realize is how much I respect and really like both of these guys, right? For different reasons, mind you, too, right? These guys had a hell of a feud against each other. I have one big detraction from it was the bracelet for me. I've been pretty, honest. You and I have been in agreement pretty much about that. That's to me like one of the biggest negatives of the entire picture. But bringing it down to just this match, how it all started off with McIntyre coming out first, walking to the threshold, looking at it, and realizing as he crosses it, he's going to be a different person. It's just him and Punk. And this is where it all comes down to. The theater that these guys produced in there, incredible. They hit some killer moves as well. McIntyre nailed him with a great Claymore outside.
Yeah.
Even a lawn dart thing, or ramrod, I believe. Graves talked about it when he threw.
Look brutal.
Yeah. I'm like, this is where I'm like watching it and enjoying it for like just totally concentrating on it. I'm like, I said to myself, this is so realistic. These are two guys sort of kicking the shit out of each other, and they're doing it in a realistic way. And then when we crossed the bridge where there was all that color going on in terms of how much blood.
Well, that's where Punk got busted open. Was that ramrod?
I honestly, I think if he didn't get busted open, I think that's where he did the deed.
Well, that's exactly what he did. I just literally watched it just now. Right before we came on.
Yeah, because they cut to McIntyre, and it was like enough time for him to do what he needed to do.
Yes. And they also cut to Punk later on when which you're going to allude to right now, the real big color on McIntyre after the toolbox.
Yeah.
So he bladed too. I originally thought that he went the hard way.
Yeah.
I really did. But why would they be off McIntyre? They literally kept the camera right on Punk after he hit him with that.
Yeah.
With the toolbox. So I think he bladed too, but he got 16 stitches from that shot.
Yeah. 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 I'm not sure what the right story is, but it was just, there were certain shots of McIntyre's face in that match where I'm like, if I bought a ticket to that event, I would have been told I could have walked out of there happy right after this match. And it's the first match of the night. I was
it pretty
really
much was the only great good one. So
yeah, but it was just that good. Like these guys really knew how to like work this out, tell a hell of a story at the end in there. Punk played the underdog role perfectly. Holy crap, man. Just getting his ass kicked and then just finally being able to outsmart him. Now, I mentioned the Claymore, and I got to give the devil his due. I've been very negative about the GTS, especially.
They look good.
I think it was the first one, especially. I'm like, that is probably the best GTS that I've seen him do since he retired or, stepped away. I was like, oh, that looked great. And I'm like, okay, now this took it up a notch. It didn't look like, that like much more like, especially like that moved into detract from it all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think, well, just wanted to your point, I think it really depends on who sells it, how good that looks. Because sometimes they don't even go all the way down. They just kind of stand up and then just go back, and they clearly weren't even hit. Drew McIntyre sold the shit out of both of them. Yeah.
And just, and as that match is progressing, Michael Cole, I didn't notate, and I agree with you. There was times where I'm like, he shouldn't be bringing this up right now. And then like, it was like actually about the beads. It was like almost like 3.5, 4 minutes into the match, he brings up the beads. I'm like, enough with the beads already. It was the first reference to it. And I just didn't want to hear about it because of what I was watching. And then, of course, that was the only negative I'd really say for me was when Drew brought out the bag of beads. I'm like, okay, we could have thrown a Lego or two in there too. Those kind of hurt when you step on them too. But it just, I didn't so much appreciate that. But even with that being said, that was
indie bullshit. Should have been an AEW.
Yeah, it's just silly. Amongst all this violence that we're witnessing between these two, it's a little bit silly at that point. But I loved it, man. Even from that didn't, put a shadow on it in my mind. It's like perfection to me, man. And I just thought it was great for McIntyre, great for Punk. These guys elevated each other through an angle where one of them was mainly injured, and they still told a great story, all things considered. And as Cole did say, this is the trilogy. So here we had the three between them, and it was a great program. And it ended as good as it could be in my mind at that, from what I witnessed there. Even the little touches of Punk like being exhausted and couldn't get up the ramp because he just got his ass kicked. It just, some people might say, he's overdoing it. It's like, no, that he's lucky he got out of there with his life is basically what he's telling you, the viewer.
Yes.
He's putting, so yeah, man, I loved it. To me, it's I can't remember a match that I've enjoyed that much in WWE. I'd have to think about it in a while. I'd have to compare it to like a Gunther match or something, but I didn't do that necessarily offhand.
They also do a couple homages to Bret Hart, Stone Cold, if you noticed.
I did think about that match actually during this, man.
He did the backwards how he got the sharpshooter on, so Austin could have that spot with the blood.
Yeah.
He did the same thing with the toolbox that Bret did with the belt. Like I said before, he had the sharpshooter on Bret. McIntyre had that moment where the blood was coming out. He was trying to lift out. So there was definitely some homages there with CM Punk being the part of Bret Hart. Again, of course. He botched he fell down during the sharpshooter, which wasn't really excellence of execution like Bret Hart would have done. That's all right.
I gotta bring something up about that. Like you keep using the term botch. He never lost the hold. He still kept it cinched in, and he was able to go and save it. So it wasn't. I was like, it's being picky. I didn't consider it a botch. I'm like, if he had to like start all over again, okay. But
and he dropped the toolbox when he was going to go for the first overhead off the top rope. He dropped the toolbox. Had to do it again, but because he hit Drew again with it on the way to the other corner to do the spot. It looked great anyway. So I'm being picky because what I do is I fuck with CM Punk when I talk about him. And it's never going to be perfect.
I got it. And, I was thinking about that moment with the toolbox too. I'm like, this is the other one he's considering a botch. And I'm like watching it. But yeah, he dropped the toolbox. But I'm like, when I thought about it, I'm like, what he's doing to save the moment,
Yeah,
he stops. Dude, he got applause. And I'm like, he turned a bad, almost botched moment into a round of applause from a very engaged crowd.
Yeah.
The crowd was totally into this fucking thing, man.
Yes.
It was really, to me, that's where I gotta be honest with you, man. I was kind of moved by the match. And one of the big topics like uh, on the internet, and especially about wrestling opinions, are ratings, and especially Mr. Meltzer's stars. So I decided that watching this match between these two incredible opponents, I felt that I could only match and create my own rating system. So I have decided to go and create a rating system based on Silicon Steve Valleys, or SSVs. So this match is officially the highest rated SSV match in history right now, with 5 Silicon Steve Valleys. So I'm telling you, man, I'm a big fan of this match.
There is 5 of me right there.
Right.
That's great. Here's my thing with this match. It was a great match. They achieved everything that they wanted to do. By a couple of negatives that I had to say, we all knew CM Punk was going to win. We all knew it. We also, which to me takes a little bit away from it, because it wasn't a surprise. But they did do a good job of bringing it. But there was not one moment of this match I thought Drew McIntyre was winning. Not one. Even after the third Claymore or whatever it was. I never thought Drew McIntyre was winning this match. Not one part of me. So I was always expecting, okay, here it comes. Here comes the, and then once he put the chain on his knee, I knew that was going to be the finish. The GTS.
And I do like that idea, as him weaponizing the GTS in that way.
Because the regular GTS wouldn't work, because I think he hit him with 2 of them.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And he kicked out of one.
Take it up a notch.
It was a phenomenal match. Abyss was the producer. He has really done some fantastic work. The WWE producers for some of their high profile matches have been incredible.
Yeah. You got to give Abyss a ton of credit, man. It's one of my favorite, man. I was totally engaged in this thing, and rewatching it. Again, nothing is perfect in life, pretty much, but holy shit, this was so good.
Yeah, it was great. And so they did look, and CM Punk needed it, because you had people like me challenging if he can still go in the ring. Now, you still wonder if he can have a good regular match, because he's really good at these gimmicky matches, where he doesn't have to necessarily be super athletic, and he relies more on emotion. That's his deal in the ring. He's not there anymore where he was, a decade ago. And this kind of match, he was able to show that brutality, that different side to him. And again, like I said before, they did a fantastic job. It was arguably probably going to be the feud of the year if you had to, and I'm talking about all across the board, all wrestling.
Leapfrogs the bloodline.
I would suggest that because Roman's been gone for 6 months, I would suggest that this is definitely the feud of the year. You would have to say that. Yeah. Maybe Hangman Swerve. I don't know. I think that if they didn't have a syringe in their match, maybe people would have thought it. But it's not nearly on the same stratosphere in terms of popularity and in terms of reach. Well, and I would suggest too, Drew McIntyre is one of the best he's one of the best heavyweights in the world in terms of bell to bell. His gash was huge. I don't know what he bladed with. He might have bladed with a friggin' hacksaw. No, not you, Jim Duggan. Pardon me, mate. Actually, I don't know if he says mate. Isn't that Australian, not Scottish?
Yeah, he's American. He's from Glen Falls, New York. He usually says, "Oh."
I was referring to McIntyre, but yes.
Oh, McIntyre. Okay.
but he definitely bladed as well. And I was actually really impressed. I thought they actually did it the hard way, because that's what happened with Brett and Stone Cold. Brett did do it the hard way with Stone Cold. So I don't think that that's what happened there. It would have been cool if it did. but again, it was taken away from me, the anticipation, because again, the ending was so apparent. It really was. And so maybe
I can't deny that. But even
maybe
with
that's
that being
why
said,
I'm negative about it, because it was like,
yeah.
I like matches where, okay, what's happening? Who's gonna win? This is a big match. There was no way CM Punk wasn't winning this match. That is part of the mystique of having somebody wrestle and do that. Is that who's going to win? Because even Cody and Roman, we were almost positive Cody was going to win, but shit, we were positive Cody was going to win the year before. So, and it was so long for Roman, so you could say that about a lot of matches, but this match is in a blood feud. It just was too obvious CM Punk was winning, so that's why I never lost. I probably didn't suspend my disbelief enough in this match. However, from looking at it from an artistic standpoint, they did everything that they wanted to do. They had a brutal, hate-filled story that they told beautifully for almost a year. So God bless them. CM Punk told the crowd he's not going to be around for a while. One reason, obviously, because he doesn't want to be part of the Saudi show for a lot of reasons, which you and I have talked about on numerous occasions.
Oh, yeah.
But where do they go from here? McIntyre, that's the thing. Where would he go? You would assume Punk's going to give Gunther a shot after the crown jewel.
Probably, yeah.
And what does McIntyre do at this point?
Oh, man. You don't want to mess it up, because when he comes back out there and it's just him, I think he's going to gain a lot more fans even. Like, might be the most top-notch player WWE's had the entire year.
Yeah, he's up there. He's up there.
Yeah.
Cody would be the only other guy you would suggest.
Yeah, and I'd prefer McIntyre myself. So,
because he's not a pandering fool. Hey, what'd you say to me? Oh.
Why would you call Cody a fool?
He's not a fool. I will give him that. He's a smart cookie, that Cody Rhodes. But
yes,
great feud, great finish to a match. That match was everything that it needed to be. Shut a lot of people up about CM Punk's ability in the ring. And now we'll see what happens. I got a question. One of the things, there's two reasons why he's not doing the Saudi show. One reason is because of his political beliefs and everything that Saudi Arabia has protected in terms of Sharia law, the way they treat women, a lot of the illegal stuff that have been alluded to the Saudi government, and a lot, calling it blood money, things of that nature. We don't have to get too much into it. That's definitely it. But the other reason he has a part-time contract. He didn't sign up to do 250 dates a year or 200 dates a year.
Yeah.
That's who he is. And that's the irony of CM Punk. He was the guy who was, I can't believe some former stars going to come in and take people's spot. He has become literally everything that he built his legend against. It's weird. It really is. Just observation, because I can't just praise him and not.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's just such a weird take all of a sudden.
Hey,
I gave him a little praise. Now I'm going to go shiv him in the ribs.
I'm not kicking him in the ribs. I'm not going to pull a Claudio to Wheeler Yuta. I'm not going to take a hammer to the ribs, or what was it? No, whatever.
It's like the ring hammer.
Well, silly. Well, we'll get to that in our next segment.
It was literally like, it was, you know what they hit him with? They hit him with literally, it was Andy Dufresne's like pick thing that he got through Shawshank with. It wouldn't hurt a fly, basically.
I remember thinking it would take someone hundreds of years. Old Andy did it in less than 20.
They couldn't find a smaller hammer in the whole arena.
They do. We'll wait for the next segment. But it's like AEW is doing great, and then he just do these really stupid fucking things, which breaks any momentum of anyone wanting to check them out. It's just 329,000 fucking people watched on Tuesday night. It's a disaster. Now it's a different night, all that. There's a lot of reasons for it. It's not just because of what have you, but we're going to get into that in our next segment. But yeah, Hell in a Cell, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre. My hat's off to both of you, gentlemen. Vladi Dadi has fallen in love with everything you've done. The other thing is, Vladi, are we going to look at this Hell in a Cell a year or two from now with the same awe? Because what are the consequences Are we going to look at this Hell in a Cell the same way we look at the very first Hell in a Cell with The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels? Are we going to look at this Hell in a Cell the way we do Mankind Undertaker? Or even Mick Foley Triple H? You know, there's a lot of legendary Hell in a Cells, and I don't know if this one will stand the test of time.
Yeah, I can't say it's like, you know, I don't think it's the best all time, I would say offhand, but I would say it definitely has a seat at the table. And it's, you know, you're going to look at the Hell in a Cells, and to me, it's probably top 5 material. So that's pretty damn good.
Look, the guys, it was an overall a great feud. Like you said, it got a little long with the stupid bracelet, but that's because Punk he got cleared about a month or two later than he thought. I think they thought he was going to be cleared. Yeah. So, you know, instead of it being, you know, I think he was trying to come back in like 4 or 5 months when he first got hurt. And no, he had to wait the full, I think it was a 6 to 9 month injury, and it took 7 months. So, you know, they did what they could, but again, it's probably the feud of the year, and that's going to be one of the matches of the year. And shit, Dave Meltzer to give a WWE match 5 stars when it's not into the Tokyo Dome is pretty impressive.
It's just phenomenal. You can't even believe what sort of stars need to all align for that to happen.
And we can touch, and I just wanted to touch on this. Speaking of Meltzer, and let's see what your just quick take on this. Meltzer is reporting that The Rock has told WWE that he hears from his sources in WWE. The Rock has told WWE he is not going to be available to wrestle at WrestleMania 41. Your reaction to that? And is it definitely accurate? And of course, Meltzer, by the way, he hedged his bets like he does every single solitary time he drops a rumor. Oh, I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen. It's just one of his little tricks that he does. But he said everything could change. But right now, The Rock's not slated for WrestleMania 41. And that would be extraordinarily disappointing. Your take if The Rock misses 41. And why would you have him come out last weekend at the end of the pay-per-view?
Yeah, I think they're going to start dabbling, man. It's probably a red herring just to get Meltzer and the other, you know, everybody just off the assumption that he's going to be there. And I can't imagine him not being there. But like, I would have to hear he's not going to be there because he's making XYZ movie, and you'd have to be like, okay, I get it. You know, you can't miss out on that. But we're not really hearing that part of it. Like,
yeah, why else? Just hearing scheduling, exactly.
Like, if The Rock proved anything with this last year, is that he could just take his cell phone and cut a more interesting promo than 99.9% of the rest of the industry, and just put it out there, and it's like awesome for the feud, and then he just has to show up when they wrestle.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
That really said something to me last year. So he was able to adapt to whatever and still go and pull off and be involved in a great WrestleMania weekend last year.
Yeah, we just really wanted to see Roman Rock. We got to wait another year for that.
I don't know. Maybe it's another one of the other major pay-per-views that they do. Maybe it's a SummerSlam or something instead. But
yeah, true enough. It doesn't necessarily have to be WrestleMania, right? It could be the biggest party of the summer. And of course, next year, SummerSlam is going to 2 nights. So I think they are going to try to make SummerSlam not necessarily WrestleMania, but a close second. They're going to try to bring SummerSlam back to something pretty crazy. And I think you told me it's going to be in New York, New Jersey. It's going to be at MetLife Stadium.
So they're going to look to do something pretty big here. And you know what? It's like kind of cool that they're considering it. And you know, hey, if they have great weather, this thing should be a hell of a spectacle. So
maybe we'll finally do a live show we've been talking about doing for the last.
Yeah, I mean that would probably be the best place to do it. And then honestly, too, it's like it'd be, you know, we might even want, depending how good it is, we might even want to consider, you know, screw that. I don't want to go and see it. I'd rather go and hang out with you and watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't like wrestling fans. Creep me out. Creep me the fuck out. All right, well, that's all we got for this segment of High Spots and Cheap Pops right here on YouTube. And we want to thank everybody for checking us out. Hit the subscribe button for the very best in professional wrestling talk on the internet today. For Vladi, this is Silicon Steve Valli here in The Lesson. We are High Spots and Cheap Pops. Silicon, Steve Valli, and Vladi Dadi give you the best pro wrestling talk on the internet today.